Hello and welcome. I'm Lynette Schaefer, the Director of Training here at LEDVANCE. In today's training video, I'm going to be speaking to you a little bit about Title 20, Title 24, and also JA8. Now, I do have to just do a little quick disclosure. The information provided is not intended to constitute legal advice. All content and materials are for general informational purposes only. You should consult your attorney to obtain legal advice and/or review the specific proposed legislation for more information. Now that we have that under our belt, let's move on. Okay. So when it comes to energy codes, there are two national models, which is ASHRAE 90.1 and IEC-C. There are some states that take the national code, modify it slightly, like California and Washington State. Now, all new and renovated existing buildings, so those that take out a permit basically, are required to achieve compliance with the state or local code, energy code specifically. And enforcement of this is always done by the building permit office staff at the local level, who typically review plans first to ensure they are compliant, and then they do conduct a field inspection to verify that the plans are followed during the construction process. And keep in mind, the energy code regulates state building energy efficiency requirements for residential, non-residential, and multifamily buildings, including newly constructed projects, additions, and alterations in a variety of occupancy groups. Now, ASHRAE was founded in 1894. They focus on building systems, energy efficiency, indoor air quality, refrigeration, and sustainability. ASHRAE stands for the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers. ASHRAE focuses on the design, the construction, the operation, and also the maintenance of buildings, and does not include residential buildings less than or equal to 3 stories. ASHRAE applies to buildings, and now, as of 2022, also applies to sites as well. Now, most codes are adopted at the state level, though in about 10 states, they are adopted by local jurisdictions. State adoption can occur directly by legislation or legislative action, or through regulatory agencies authorized by the legislature. Once adopted, the code becomes law within that particular state or that specific local jurisdiction. So today we're going to specifically be digging into Title 24, Title 20, and JA8. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the CEC. Now, CEC stands for California Energy Commission, and they are the state's primary energy policy and planning agency. They are working very hard to take the state to a 100% clean energy future. So they are all about developing a policy to reduce energy usage and costs, limit environmental impacts of energy generation, and also the use of energy, and to also ensure safe, resilient, and reliable supply of energy too. So after the CEC adopts these standards, they are submitted to the California Building Standards Commission for approval, and of course, inclusion with other changes to the building code. Then the energy code is designed to be implemented. And of course, they try to make it as cost effective as possible and also affordable to really help California manage energy demand and advance the state's climate and clean air goals as well. Okay. As California's energy policy agency, of course, the CEC is what that stands for. Again, California Energy Commission is what CEC stands for. And just know that they are the ones who are basically adopting the codes, and then they send it off to the California Building Standards Commission. So that's how that works. So now that you know how the energy code is developed, let's talk a little bit more about Title 20, Title 24, and also JA8. So no matter if you're dealing with any of these, Title 20, Title 24, JA8, all of these only apply to the state of California. Title 20 is different than Title 24 because it only regulates the efficiency of products, while Title 24 deals specifically with the building itself. Think of it this way. Title 20 applies to products when they are sold or offered for sale. So what can a distributor or reseller put on their shelf? And who can, and when somebody comes in to buy it, what can they buy? It doesn't matter if it's for indoor use or outdoor use. JA8, on the other hand, comes into play when there's new construction or a permit is taken out. For JA8, outdoor lighting is not required to comply. So let's just deep dive a little bit further into each one of these. So first of all, Title 20, Title 20 regulates the efficiency of products sold in the state of California. it's applicable to individual products such as lamps, and it used to also apply to portable luminaires. How as of April 25th, 2023, portable luminaires are no longer in that section, so they no longer have to comply with Title 20 anymore. And is also mandatory for all products, and most importantly, fines may apply for non-compliance, and this is enforced again by the CEC, the California Energy Commission. So who's responsible for making sure lamps are legally sold in California? Well, everyone in the supply chain. The California Energy Commission says lighting manufacturers, distributors, retailers, contractors, importers, and installers should all check products to ensure compliance before stocking, selling, or installing products. Failure to certify products can result in fines. And as mentioned, enforcement is by the California Energy Commission, the CEC. And there can be also periodic testing and verification that can be also performed by the CEC. Bottom line is, it is illegal to sell or offer for sale in the state any regulated product that is not certified to the CEC and listed in the MAEDS, which stands for Modernized Appliance Efficiency Database System. This is basically where the list of compliant products live. Now, besides compliance and performance and testing and marking requirements and all that stuff, we also have to make sure that everything's compliant and tested as a manufacturer. So we have to make sure that we have the markings, the performance, and the testing. Those are all critical components to this regulation. Products must be clearly marked with the manufacturer's name, the model number, and the manufacturing date, including year and month. Depending upon the product, different performance requirements are also required, which includes things like efficacy, so lumens per watt, CRI, rated life, and standby power too. As far as testing goes, no specific testing is required. However, manufacturers must certify regulated products to the CEC prior to being sold or offered for sale in the state of California. Part of this process is also to upload data to the Energy Commissioning's database system. Keep in mind, the CEC can pick products at any time for random testing to ensure that they do meet the requirements. And remember, if it's not listed in the MAEDBS, it's illegal to sell in California. So what lamps can and can't be sold? Your best solution is to visit that website, the MAEDBS. But as a general overview, state-regulated LED lamps, referred to as LED, includes the E12s, the E17 lamps, the E26, the GU24, and retrofit kits, as well as small diameter lamps, which they refer to as SDDL, like incandescents, halogens, LEDs that are non-tubular directional lamps with a 2.25-inch or less diameter. They can operate at 12 volts, 24 volts, or 120 volts, as well as general service lamps. Those are GSL lamps, like incandescents, halogens, CFL, and LED omnidirectional lamps with an E26 base. Now, there are some exceptions to the rules, like colored LED lamps, as well as some LED tubes. Again, I would recommend visiting that MAEDBS website for a full list of exceptions and also a full list of what you can and cannot sell. That is your best option. However, us as a manufacturer also try to make it as easy as possible for you as well. Now, please note, this information that you see here on this chart can change, but the chart shows current legislation for California. As you can see here, you cannot sell screw-based CFLs under Title 20. This went into effect 1/1 of 2024. This is the most current product that you cannot sell. Starting January 1st, 2025, you also won't be able to sell pin-based CFLs or linear fluorescent lamps either. So I like to direct your attention to the last column in this chart, the date rule. If it says distribute and sell by, that means the manufacturer can't distribute by that date, and the distributor can no longer sell by that date either. So just as a little FYI of how that last column works. So now let's go ahead and move over to Title 24. This is a specific section for building code standards for all new construction in the state of California. It is applicable to buildings, not individual products, and mandatory for new construction remodels where there is a permit. Keep in mind there are different requirements for non-residential and residential applications. Now, the California Code of Regulations is divided into 28 separate titles. It contains regulations for about 200 state agencies. Title 24 is reserved specifically for California building standard codes, and it consists of various parts for design, construction, alterations, facilities, equipment for all public, private, and owned buildings, and private owned buildings in California. Structural, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, it includes all that, and includes energy conservation, construction, maintenance, sustainability, fire, life safety, and accessibility. Provisions for existing and historical. There are some, sorry, let me back up. There are some provisions for existing and historical buildings as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. So this is not a small thing to get your head around. There is a lot going on. There's a lot of different areas within Title 24. So Title 24 Part 6 is actually the one we as lighting experts really care about the most. It was created in 1978 in response to the mandate to reduce energy consumption in California. You can kind of see how the rest of these sort of fall into place as well as you read through them. All right, so the next one is, basically, why do we have Title 24? As I previously mentioned, it's all about energy savings, right? But it's actually more than that. All of those different areas within that, within Title 24, all have their specific things that they're looking for. The energy, again, kind of falls into that Part 6 that I just mentioned on the previous slide. But overall, what's the true purpose of Title 24? Well, first of all new commercial construction and 50% of commercial building retrofits are trying to get to a point where California will achieve net zero energy consumption by 2030. And the state building target is 2025. So to be able to take all new commercial construction, 50% of commercial building retrofits, and achieve net zero energy consumption by 2030 is a big, big thing to get, right? It's pretty amazing. Now, there are changes every 3 years to the code. Each of these sections noted here can be referenced for a full understanding of each specific application. One change worth mentioning is that previously, multifamily buildings have had hybrid requirements, with some coming from the residential code and others coming from the non-residential code. Now, all multifamily buildings have their own separate code section and also their own requirements. Hotel, motel, and non-residential buildings still have a common set of requirements. Also keep in mind, cities, counties, fire protection districts, also known as local jurisdictions, can also adopt their own ordinances to implement, and it can even be more restrictive than those proposed in Title 24. This is why it's really important to understand each local jurisdiction and to understand their requirements for each specific city, county, and whatnot. Now, and that's another reason why I can't go through every single one of these. I would love to provide you with exact details, but it's just too much to do. So it's really important you reach out and find out what your local requirements are. Now, to achieve this aggressive energy footprint that California is seeking to achieve, of course, the energy code changes every 3 years. And for that reason, there's almost always some aggressive changes. And the one for 2022 had numerous changes, plus it had very aggressive changes as well. So things like demand response. So building using more than 4,000 watts of total lighting power in spaces that have more than 0.5 watts per square foot must have a demand responsive lighting control system that can reduce lighting load by at least 15% when their utility sends a demand response signal. Another change was for open office lighting in zones of 600 square feet or less. Lighting must be partially off or fully off when the zone is vacant. Another change is receptacles must be connected to the demand responsive lighting controls when both technologies are present or required on the project. Basically, what that means is plug load control. Okay, so if the sensor in that space is tied to the lighting and there's nobody in that space, that lighting sensor will tell that plug load control to shut down or that receptacle to shut down. Things like control requirements are changing under the 2020-22 code. Manual area control locations have additional exceptions. Automatic daylight, power adjustment factors, healthcare facilities and museums and some other stuff were also changed. The area category lighting and additional lighting power alliances, they've all been updated and changed. There's been some other changes with just the area category as well. As you can see, there is a huge long list of different changes. I would definitely maybe take a quick snapshot of this, get acclimated and familiar with it, go out to these different sections of the code, for instance, the 130.1 or the 140.6A or the 140.6B, take a look at those, get acclimated and get yourself familiar with that as well. Now for outdoor lighting, the 2022 updates include outdoor lighting zone definitions that have changed. All hardscape lighting allowances are now all reduced. New application specific additional lighting power allowances are now for security cameras are added to the 2022 code as well. So it is a major mix of a lot of things that are going on that we have to now be aware of. Now, as you can probably imagine, it's really difficult to provide a complete layout of each section of the code. However, there are some really great resources available. One of my favorite sites is www.energycodeace.com. This is by far the best site, and it will help you learn little by little. One thing that I would say is that you're not going to learn the energy code in a 45-minute or a 30-minute presentation. You really have to kind of deep dive and dig into each one of these, and the energycodeace.com does a great job of doing that. It also does a nice job of breaking down some of the requirements. As you can see here, the things that are mandatory and what's prescriptive. You can kind of also see it talks a little bit about controlled receptacles and lighting controls. It also talks about automatic shutoff and daylight controls. And remember also that local codes, such as local jurisdictions, the cities and the counties, can have their own specific requirements too. So I believe Energy ACE also looks into some of those as well. Another great resource for Title 24 is the dgs.ca.gov website, especially like the Title 22 or the 2022 Title 24 California Code change section. Once you click on that, you will then scroll down to an area that says Part 6, which is obviously what I just spoke about, which is revolves around the energy code section. And once you click on that, it will then take you to the California Energy Commissioning's website. And this is where you can really dig into more in-depth details about the energy code. As you can see on the right-hand side here, it isn't just about lighting controls and plug load control, but it's also about EV chargers and solar power. Now, as we move into JA8, let's first do a quick recap of what we learned so far. So first of all, no matter if you're dealing with Title 20, Title 24, or JA8, they all deal with the state of California. Title 20 is different than Title 24 because it only regulates the efficiency of products, while Title 24 deals specifically with the building itself. And remember, JA8 comes into play when there's new construction or a permit is taken out. And for JA8, outdoor lighting is not required to comply. Now, JA8 is an appendix of Title 24 and further identifies the codes and rules pertaining to California's energy regulations. JA8 requires that all lighting be high efficacy, meaning that many applications must use JA8 certified lamps. And in order to get JA8 certified lamps, they have to go through some rigorous testing, including things like making sure that they pass the lumens per watt ratings, the dimming requirements, the lifespan, the color rendering requirements. As you probably have seen, a lot of the products that are sold into California under the JA8 are 90 plus CRI. That's part of one of those requirements, right? So once the light source meets the requirements, it is then approved by the state of California. It is then registered with the CEC. All certified light sources must meet that JA8 along with the required JA8 date. And it has to be printed clearly right on the lamp or the luminaire itself. If the product is not listed with the CEC and does not have the JA8 date code, it is not JA8 certified. At the end of the day, the key takeaway is really understanding what you can and cannot sell into the state of California, whether it is for new construction or whether you're a distributor and stocking it on your shelf and it falls under the other previous title. Okay. And that would, again, would be Title 20, which applies to the products as well. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. All right, so moving on, the California Energy Commission is currently in the process of researching and gathering information to make the next round of updates for JA8. The updated standards will be proposed for adoption sometime in 2024, which would be this year. Once adopted, they will then be included as part of the 2025 Building Energy Efficiency Standards. The effective date will go into effect January 1st, 2026. So, all right. So in summary, the California Energy Commission estimates that single family homes in compliance with the 2022 Energy Code will use about 7% less energy due to energy efficiency measures versus those that were built under the 2019 Energy Code. Once rooftop solar electricity generation is factored in, homes built under the 2019 standards will use about 53% less energy than those under the 2016 standards. Also, this may reduce greenhouse gas emissions by over 700,000 metric tons over 3 years. And it's all about, the fossil fuels and taking cars off the road as far as, our environment goes. And it's really all about helping to keep California as efficient as possible, as safe as possible. And this is what the Energy Code is all about, right? If you do need additional information, here are some useful websites. Definitely check these out. Also, you can find some excellent resources like this chart, which is typically provided by each city or county. As you look through this crazy busy slide, you will find a lot of it has to do with lighting controls. But don't forget, California Energy Code is also requiring solar or solar ready, as well as EV ready, EV capable, or EV installed as well. And also check it out. There's also some other states within the US also going that direction too. Specifically, when it comes to EV ready, the code requires homes to be electric ready with a dedicated 240 volt outlet. This allows for the home to be ready for going to any type of various electric options, such as electrical vehicle charging stations for electric cars. If you partner with LEDVANCE, which we hope you do, we can help you with lighting controls. We can help you with EV chargers. We can help you with solar options. We can help you with plug load control. We can do all of that. We are one of the few lighting companies that can offer a complete solution that meets the requirements of not just the state of California, but really anywhere. Our lighting control solution can do everything from offering a free iOS or Android app to many types of sensor solutions, to CCT adjustability, to plug load control, plus additional features like wattage, data, energy monitoring, which are all coming soon. Thank you for attending this video. For feedback on this presentation, please scan the QR code on the left. And to test your knowledge and obtain your certificate of completion, please scan the QR code on the right.